Ask yourself, could Elon Musk, who's a South African, have built his rocket in France or Germany?
We have had a cataclysmic event. Is Britain open for business?
Where to start? I mean,
I'm a great cynic of ESG.
Europe is lagging badly in an important race.
China's footprint in Africa, having their eyes on the cobalt and the lithium.
You could have lost a hell of a lot of money trying to buy false rallies in the Nikkei for the best part of 20 years. This has been a Chinese business model for 20 or 30 years, which is to
Welcome to this edition of Talking Markets, brought to you by Capital.com. I'm Michael Wilson, and I'm joined by the veteran City commentator David Buik, as usual.
Good day, sir.
And I'm very pleased to say somebody whom we've known for a long time. Gerald Ashley joins us. Now, Gerald has a long experience in the investment world. He also worked for the BIS, and he's now non-executive director of Equitile. We have had a cataclysmic event, the first 100 days of a Labour government. Is Britain open for business? Starmer talked about the shock and awe of investment.
You see, I think there's something that's going on. I think the three of us are still playing by the old rules. The new rules, there's so many things are now buried in legislation that you have to get the Office of Budget Responsibility on side and this, that and the other. It would actually be quite difficult to do it in the first couple of weeks. It's just not going to happen.
6 weeks would have done. But
I guess we are where we are. But to the question, is Britain open for business? Sort of. I mean, the problem we've got here is a lack of trust, whether it's at the personal or at the government level. And I think at the government level, the problem is they've made all sorts of promises, which I'm not at all certain they're going to follow through on. The key one is planning. Well, I remain to be convinced that the planning system is going to get sorted out quickly.
We've got to go on now to something that I think is much more important as regards the global economy, and that's the US presidential election.
And we're, about 3 weeks to go?
2 weeks to go.
Where does the Fed stand in all this then, do you think?
Well, that's the other one. Again, if we go back to, if we get out the old sort of books of the past, there was this sort of general view that the Fed would try and stay out the way during an election year. Well, that certainly hasn't happened this year.
Well, to go from 26 trillion to 33 trillion in just over a year.
I always like to think of visual pictures. Here's a nice one for you. Yeah. The interest is over $1 trillion a year. And if you paid back $1 per second, it would take you 31,000 years. And that's just for the interest, not for the debt. That's just for the interest. So this, okay, that's just kind of playing parlor games with numbers. But the more important point is, where does all this end? And I think we've got a thing pretty much throughout the West where modern monetary theory, the idea you just print money and you can spend it and you can boost the economy, has won in the short term. But it's going to lose in the long term because at some point the holders of debt are going to say, hang on.
I'm not buying any more.
I'm not buying any more. And in fact, I don't really like what I've got.
$75 a barrel, down $2 again this morning while you and I were smoking. I mean, I find that very odd.
Well, I think oil, I recall being here back in, I think it was March or April time, and we said the most interesting thing about oil was that there was nothing interesting about it. We've got all this, threat of Middle East disruption. There's supposedly proper global sanctions. And the oil price was barely holding on to 85, I think, back then, 80, 85. And now, as you say, we're slipping towards the low 70s. Well, what do we make of this? Some people say it's, there may be less demand.
Yeah, but we're not going green that quickly, are we?
Oh, no, not remotely, I don't think.
And you can listen to the full version of that podcast wherever you get your podcasts from.